Okay, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Future Ear Radio Podcast. Very excited for today's chat with Dr. Nichole Kingham and Joe Furness. Why don't we start with some introductions? So, ladies first. Nichole, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Sure. So my name is Nichole Kingham. I am an audiologist. I own a private practice. We have 2 clinics in Washington State. And I became an audiologist 25 years ago, working with a private practice. And I love to say that I was the first audiologist to hire an audiology assistant in Washington State. I'm not sure that that's actually true, just because audiology assistants have been around for years, right? If we didn't call them audiology assistants, we called them our front desk person.
Right.
They were doing our audiology assisting, along with all the other great things that front desk does. But what was going on at the time was I was a young mom with 3 small children and working full time and in a private practice trying to grow. And I actually asked our director if we could hire another audiologist, and it seems to mirror a little bit of what's going on now. Right now, it's actually, I think, compounded, but we had a hard time finding a good audiologist, number one, but then the expense of having another audiologist join our staff. And he said, no, we're not hiring another audiologist. You're going to have to figure out how to do it. And I said, well, what about someone who could come in and do all the back lab work, all the important detail information that my degree is not required for, but necessary work to get the job done. What if we hire somebody to do that, and instead of having another audiologist? And he said, great, do that. So we hired someone, but then we were like, what do we do with them? How do we teach them everything we know? So I am very much a processes and procedures type of person. So I created a training for that person. And then people started getting wind of that in Washington and asking for us to teach them how to do it. And can we have your stuff that you used for training? And so I created a book. It was Joe, 190 pages, something like that.
It was ridiculous.
Printed down this big huge thing. And that's a little expensive to print. But that's what we were doing. And then Joe sort of said, I think we can do this better. And that's what Joe does. Joe looks at processes and says, let's streamline this and do it better and reach more people. So we put audiology assistant training online in 2016.
Yep. Yes.
And it's just gone from there. Then as that went along, I actually had experts start talking to us about, all right, so you have this topic expertise, and you took it and put it on an online platform. It's reaching more people. That's amazing. I'm an expert as well. Can you help me do it? So we created Audiology Academy as a platform for experts to reach other entrepreneurs, other audiologists, other business managers in audiology, to help them have access to an expert to teach them how to do something different in their practice that they might not have the experience for, but want to expand their practice with. So not only do we do audiology assistant training, but we do front desk training. We do billing training with Kim Cavett. We do Dr. Jill Casehorn has training. We have all sorts of experts that are really focused on their one expertise area, but with their help, us as entrepreneurial audiologists get access to their brains. So it's been a great fun time and expanding, and that really has been a passion and a joy for me. That's, I love being an audiologist, but this other side of things and working with my husband has been also just a fun little extra. And now he knows more than he'd like to about audiology, I think.
That's a true statement. I know way more than I ever desired to.
It was an interesting thing happened not too long ago. An audiologist asked me a question and he jumped in and answered it. And I was just like, that's right. And I know that. And why do you know that?
Oh,
Why do you know that?
yeah. Osmosis. It's an amazing thing.
Yeah. So.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for that overview. I mean, yeah, to your point, this really kind of hits on a lot of topics that we've been discussing on the podcast lately. The last few episodes have been around entrepreneurism in audiology. You too fit the bill for that, like to a T. And then also, like you mentioned, there was a conversation I had with Au.D, who's with Staffing Proxy, which is like a staffing company that's specifically for the hearing health industry. And in that conversation, we talked a lot about kind of the labor shortage, particularly around audiologists. You hear a lot of people talking about how difficult it is to hire an AUD today, and that makes sense. There's just not that many of them. Yep. And so it, I think, really begs the question of, how does audiology make itself like relevant and sustainable into the future if there's not a whole lot of audiologists? And I think that this whole approach of having extenders and having like, support level staff that can do more and more tasks that the audiologist can then delegate to. And I think that you really hit on, kind of the crux of that though, which is like, you were your first customer. You had to like learn this firsthand and through trial and error. And, you've learned a lot and you gained all that wisdom that you're now repackaging and offering that to other people. And I think that that's kind of at the root of what's the big opportunity here is like, how does everybody kind of get in tune with best practices about not just an audiology assistant, but like you said, how do you maximize your front office staff? How do you make sure that you're doing the billing like as efficiently as possible so that you're getting as much money as you can from a reimbursement standpoint? So I think it like is a very logical business that you've created. I think it's really cool. So, how did this first kind of begin though, when like going back to the way that you described it, Nichole, with, you hire this person and you like, all right, where do I even begin? So in like the earliest infancy of Audiology Academy, can you kind of just paint a picture of what that period was like?
Well, for me, it really came down to I was working too hard. I was missing out on my kids. I was missing out. I missed my youngest daughter's first steps. I didn't see her form her first words. That all actually was with my family, which is good, right? Mm-hmm. But I recognized that I was missing out on those really important firsts. And so I wanted to create space and bandwidth for myself and the things that are important to me outside of audiology. And so it became, it came out of need, which is, right where we are right now with the industry too, right? We can't just focus on hearing aids. We need to be able to spread out. We need to look at the other things that our profession allows and be the full professional that we are. We can be tinnitus specialists and APD specialists and balance specialists and hearing specialists. And so I had to create something because of the type of personality I am. I'm not just going to be like, hey, come here, follow me and I'll teach you. Mm-hmm. I really wanted a roadmap. So I created the roadmap. And that's really what I think audiologists are looking for. They know they need an audiology assistant.
Right.
That's how do you do it?
Exactly.
They know they need a new front desk person. How do you train them well? We know we got to put tinnitus into our clinic. How do you do it? So we have a great training group, Audiology Online, that really talks about the what of audiology. And our goal is to delve a little bit deeper into that. And Joe, I love how you talk about that.
Yeah.
Why don't you talk about a little bit about that?
Well, first I'm going to do my introduction. Hi, I'm Joe Furness.
We just kind of glossed over that.
That's okay. So it's all my title. I jumped into this about 10 years ago, trying to help Nichole with trying to reach more people with or actually just work with the bandwidth of the number of people trying to get access to what she had. And that's really the starting point, was just put it in a place where it allowed people to get access to it quicker, faster, and easier. And that was because we were running out of time. I mean, even though she had the assistant in there and stuff, we now had a larger family, and things just started going crazy. But what she was alluding to earlier is one of the things that we put on our tagline for Audiology Academy is inform, instruct, and implement. You can go to a lot of different locations and be informed. You go to conferences, you get the instructions, if you will, of why you should do something. But now you need the instructions on how to do it. And you don't necessarily find those at the conferences and on other sites and things like that. You really have to go to the expert, the coaching, the counselors, or whoever that you have, the experts, the person that's going to inspire you to help you go from A to Z, and how to do it the best way without making so many mistakes. I mean, we can all go out there, but the phrase, why reinvent the wheel? So go to those experts. And that's what we tried to do now as Audiology Academy. We wanted to create a platform where those experts can go put their information on there and allow other clinics to get access to them, because one-on-ones is, you don't have the bandwidth, but when you have multiple, online training course, it creates that bandwidth. So, that's what I think is really cool about it, but it's really, Audiology Academy is the how. How are you going to do this in your clinic? And so we're always reaching out to more experts, trying to find those great experts that are out there, trying to create this platform for them. And we have more and more coming on every year, and it's pretty exciting. Yeah.
I just think that, like, as Nichole was kind of like laying out, balance, APD, tinnitus, and she said something, about how, like, it's not as if this is all news to people that, like, they should be thinking about diversifying into these areas or incorporating them. I think that it's pretty well known that there's, you're just going to make yourself, I think you're going to protect yourself a little bit, I think, by diversifying your services. But it's a question of how do you actually, like, go on that Monday morning and begin to go through the process of bringing those into the fold. And it's, so it's like you said, getting into the how. And I think it's really neat that you've got the platform that can enable all of these different pillars of things that, of education, more or less. So, like, when did that phase of this begin? Because it sounds like it started with the Audiology Assistants, but, what was that part like when you started to realize this can be more than just a singular training module platform for audiology assistants, and it can actually be something that's, like, conducive to all kinds of education?
I remember that conversation very clearly with Nichole. When we started off with a different platform, and we were on that for about 3 years, 2.5, 3 years. And I had to find a new platform that was just going to work better for the end user. And so I found this great platform, and it had this, a lot of these great tools in there. And I was like, we just have these 3 courses on here, and this is a lot of great stuff. And then we were talking to somebody, and I can't remember exactly who it was, but it dawned on me. It's like, why don't we just put their course on our platform too? I mean, let's just do that. Let's just do it. And so we started to have this conversation with another group. And anyway, the first person that we signed up was Dr. Cliff. He got his course on there. It was it leads into his platform, if you will, to help audiologists get found by the people that love Dr. Cliff on YouTube and stuff like that. It's a great idea. Vetted audiologists. And but anyway, it started there, and it started with a conversation with some other people. And at first it was a little rocky. I don't think people quite understood what we were trying to do, and we weren't trying to invade anybody's space, coaching platforms, or try to, invade into practice development groups or anything like that. We are independent. These are experts coming to us to put their expertise on there, and that's what I think is attractive about it. Is it doesn't matter if you're with this practice group or this practice group or whatever, that you can actually use the material on there, and it's useful, and it's going to help you better your clinic and yourself and your employees. So it started back in 2019 is when we started that change, that transition. And the biggest hurdle that we took was that, you're more than audiology assistant training. Yes, yes, we are. We're a lot more now. So that was the biggest hurdle. It's, we were pegged for just audiology assistant training, but we're growing out of that, and there's pretty great exposure. And we're growing.
Yeah, that's really cool. So, when this thing was starting to come off the ground, even before 2019, it sounds like you started the first iteration of this in 2016. So when did you start to feel that this thing was picking up momentum, and that, like, wow, there's actually something really to this? Like, does anything stand out in your mind of those early days, some of the first interactions that you had with other audiologists, and, starting to feel like that you were onto something with this?
It was basically just the sheer volume that just started. And okay. I know there's some other great platforms out there for training for audiology assistants. We think they're great. We have nothing against them. We encourage them. If you can get training for your audiology assistant, wonderful. But all of a sudden we noticed that we were picking up more speed, and that was because how our platform and the course was designed, and we got great feedback on it. And it just started growing. Word of mouth was the best thing for us. Was, it just started to explode. And then last year, I don't know exactly what happened, but we grew so fast in the number of courses and in the number of students, and everything just exploded. And this year is starting off really strong as well.
I feel like a lot of this comes from firsthand experience in terms of what you're learning and then wanting to share. So Nichole, based on your experiences, if we're just sticking with the audiology assistant track, when you were learning and having your own audiology assistant in your practice, what were some of the things that you identified that you could delegate that maybe previously you hadn't considered? And as time has gone on, I'm sure that this has kind of crystallized in your mind of, how do you maximize the efficiency of the audiologist when you start to bring in support roles like this?
Right. And so I'm going to be very blunt. It really came down to the very first conversation in my head was, what are the things I don't want to do?
Yeah.
Have to be done, but I don't want to do. So there was that. And then the other part is just, it's about patient care. What are you doing to improve your patient care? If you, as the audiologist, are constantly patient to patient to patient, and you're seeing patients for 2 hours at a time, how many patients you're actually helping? And the patients that need you while you're with another patient, how much are you helping them? I mean, you can only be in one place at one time. So it was about making sure our patients felt cared for, was making sure that they could get the care that they wanted in the time frame that they wanted. And so we had to shorten the time that the audiologist was with the patient. For instance, our hearing aid evaluations are 2 hours, and we do a demo with our hearing aid evaluations. Once the demo is complete, we've done realer measures, we've fit the instruments. They are not going to walk out the door with an instrument that they don't know how to use. So an audiology assistant is going to help with that. Their instrumentation is Bluetooth ready. I don't have time to teach them how to put it onto their phone, get it connected, how to use the app. But it would be a disservice to them to let them walk out with a product that they don't know how to use. That's where the audiology assistant comes in. during the fitting process, we go through that whole thing again. So our practice is a little bit different. We do demos. Pretty much anyone who walks in with a hearing loss, they're working out with hearing aids. Once they've finished the demo and they're purchasing, instead of spending time to review all of those necessary pieces of information, they'll see me for any final fine-tuning, but then the audiology assistant does the paperwork, the setting them up for Dusty Justin's 5 keys, making sure that they understand their services that they're going to get for the rest of the warranty period, that sort of thing. That tells them we care about them, that we want them to stay involved and connected with our clinic, and that they know that this other person is there for them. So if I'm not available, this audiology assistant will be. So that customer care is number one. The other things are, in the back lab. So sending out our repairs, checking to make sure the repairs are going to get in on time. There's nothing like having an ear mold pick up on the schedule and going, oh, the ear molds are not here yet. That's not good customer care. So having someone that is watching out for those little details is really important. Audiology assistant does all of those things. So I tell patients, or I tell audiologists, it really is about what things are necessary, important for patient care, but doesn't require my degree.
So then when you've started to expand into these other offerings or these other training modules, how has that gone with in terms of, are you getting feedback from your members of we're taking this course? Like, do you get credentialed in any way? How does the actual process work? If you go, you join Audiology Academy, what does that look like in terms of the certification process, if you will?
Well, for audiology assisting, there is no certification. There is a certificate of completion, whether it's with our course or with another course. So certificate of completion is the most you'll get from any course. Most states don't require any sort of certification. There are some states that do have certification, right, Joe?
That's correct.
So really, it's just they get a certificate at the end of the training, whether it's the 10 unit course or the 15 unit course. And the goal is we want them to feel like they've accomplished something. And then it's also a resume builder, right? So if they do end up leaving, they can take that certificate with them so that they can tell a future employer that I've done this excellent training. That doesn't mean that that's, should be your goal, but just for in terms of audiology assisting, this is something that you should feel comfortable at the end of the training, that you know what your job is and how to do it well, and that you can move forward with that in the future.
Do you find that most audiology assistants, are they hired as an audiology assistant, or do most people hire front office staff and sort of graduate them into that?
I think it goes both ways. I think there are definitely clinics that I know of that hire from within. So their goal is to put somebody on staff first and then move them into a position. Like I said at the very beginning, a lot of people had audiology assistants before. They just didn't call them that. They called them their front desk. So a lot of times you hire someone as a front desk person and then you figure out, oh, they're actually really good with patient care. They really enjoy sitting with a patient and helping. That's a perfect person to ask if they'd like to move forward and increase their skills. For my clinic in particular, we're working with a very savvy patient. We live in a very industrial heavy or tech heavy area. In my little area, there's Boeing and Amazon and SpaceX, a lot of big companies that Microsoft as well.
Mm-hmm.
Google.
That's Seattle area. There's so much tech.
So the engineer mind, right? So we really do need
and Costco
professional.
Yeah.
So we're looking for someone with some probably higher than high school level degree when they're entering. But that's not the case for a lot of clinics. They really just need a high school level degree, and be willing to be trained.
Depending on the state. I'll put that asterisk in there.
Yeah,
some
actually,
states
that's a good
require
point.
more. Yeah.
What how I was going to ask about that. So what is the you don't need to get like granular, like, well, Maryland's like this, but what by and large, how does that work? Are some just like it's totally a free for all, and others are really strict, or what's that whole landscape look like?
Yeah, some of them are free for all. That's a good word. But they're you be cautious in those areas, and there's a lot of people that will speak to that. And then there's some states that are very stringent on their requirements and just even the education level, and it eliminates so many great people. I don't want necessarily those states to reduce their education level, but just maybe make it a little bit easier because it's really hard for those states to find or to hire an audiology assistant. They have this great staff person. They've been on there for 5 years and they can't move them forward because they don't have a degree. And it's just like, that's unfortunate. But, maybe they should go and try to get a degree, but that's not a quick turnaround thing. So,
Right.
But the states that have nothing, like, for example, Washington State, there's some great guidelines, AAA, ADA, and even ASHA have come through and said, hey, these are the requirements that, these are areas you should not cross, because they basically get into a gray area. So avoid the gray areas. And so, yeah, each state's a little bit different. You should always check your laws. And we
have a link on our website for every state. So if you want to get a quick look at what the state requirements are, it's an easy way to get there.
Yeah. And I try to keep that thing up to date as much as possible. Some states move so quickly and change things, and it changes, but it doesn't change drastically, but it does change. For example, like California was a big change. And once California changed their laws, we just had this huge influx of requests for training and students from California. It's pretty wild.
Did you so you said that it's growing like crazy right now, which is awesome. Congrats. Are you noticing any particular course that is being heavily downloaded or people are going through it right now? Like, is there something in particular that people are really gravitating toward, or is it all over the place?
Our primary is our audiology assistant training. That one is like it's the lion's share of the percentage of courses. The front desk training is becoming very popular. The billing one is picking up great speed there. There's a couple other that I'm surprised aren't moving a little faster. One of the things that we're not so great at is marketing. That's not our thing. And so when we talk to our experts, we're the platform. So when we talk to the experts, we say, hey, we'll do a couple posts here and there, and you'll see we're not the greatest at this thing. It's not what we do.
Well, that's because our team, it's me and Joe.
Yeah, for the most part, right. And I'm not a marketing person. Nope.
You're an IT guy.
Yeah.
And Nicole's running 2 practices.
And a AAA board and the one state board. I got.
And weren't you the MC at Jill's Women of Wonder conference this year? You got a lot on your plate.
Yeah. So marketing is just what we don't do, and that might help the experts that are on there a little bit better if we try to find a way to make that a little bit easier for them. But I'd love it if some of them do a great job of marketing themselves.
Some of them work with manufacturers, and courses are offered through the manufacturer points and that sort of thing.
Yes,
interesting.
It makes it a little tougher for them, but I think but then that's one of the reasons why it's on this platform is to help them. That's there's a couple of them other, but like, for example, one I don't know why it's not running off the shelf is the unbundling, the tinnitus, the APD, AR. billing. I mean, those things, there's so many great things on there, courses from experts that teach you how to put this in your clinic. I mean, and it's an investment, but at the same time, one of the things that we talk about is that we don't want to say, hey, we need to grow our hearing aid deliveries by X percent to show growth. It's services. What can we do to provide more services and more billing in those areas? And, you're like, hey, so as we all know, some services, you should probably create another LCC, LLC, and put it in the business, because you're going to bill the patient directly if you're, and so a lot of these courses, and how do you do that, right? Mm-hmm. And so
how do you go about that?
And they explain this in these courses. So, right. Yeah. I think I'm doing a disservice to our expert by not, doing more of these types of things, but, there's amazing courses on here. And,
what I found interesting is the courses that, people are taking are like they're more like motivational, courses. Like, talk about some of those, Joe.
Yeah, like how to avoid negativity. I don't know why it's that. It's maybe it's because it's free. We have a lot of free courses on there as well. But just empowerment courses, like how to just basically find your passion. That's a good one. There's a lot of excitement around that, how to find your passion. It's I don't know why, but it seems to be quite popular. Yeah.
And then there's one called Audiology 101, which is sort of you just lost your front desk person. You have to hire somebody right away. They know nothing about audiology. Like it's like the boot camp. Get them some information right now.
I love that. And that one came from because
that was a necessity.
Yeah, that was a necessity. You hire a front desk person that's got 10, 15, 20 years of experience. She's fabulous. Great interaction, but she knows nothing of the industry, zero. And so when you start using terminology, they just stare at you like, and on top of that, they really don't really understand that there's so many different medical fields that are all touching into this one profession, in this one field. And you've got to know the difference between them and the terminology that goes with it. So we created that to try to help somebody. It worked well. And anyways, there's those weird things that kind of happen.
Yeah.
I'm excited about the course that's coming up that is about how to do an audiogram.
Oh, yeah. That it's right there, almost released.
I mean, is the motivation for each new course that you develop usually firsthand? Like, I have this scenario in my practice, and I bet there's other people that would have the same thing.
Well, this one specifically is another expert.
Okay.
And having been working with them for a couple of years now, they have a fantastic simulator online, and they have been working with us and our assistants because we need to teach them how to do screenings and things like that. And he just likes the platform, and he thinks it's doing some great stuff, and he knows that he wants to create these. And the first one is just, hey, does your audiologist know how to do an audiogram? And or just an audiologist,
instrument specialist instead of another audiologist. Do you want to make sure that your hearing instrument specialist is actually doing an appropriate audiogram, billing for it or not? That your hearing instrument specialist should know how to do a full audiogram. So you can use that training to make sure that they are well trained in that.
Yeah, and it's also, and how it's designed, it starts off slow enough that if you're going to school to be an audiologist or whatever, that it actually helps you with your training. and how to, it starts you off on the right foot to do it right. Right. And so it starts off, I think
like Cliff Notes for audiometry.
Yeah. And a practice patient that you don't have to go and grab your sister or your cousin, to go in and practice on those people. These are patients, these are digital patients, and they react in the appropriate ways, and you need to figure out how to do it correctly. And so I think it's a fabulous tool, and I can't wait for that one to come out. I'm super excited about that one.
Yeah, just this whole thing it's really exciting because I think it just, again, it gets to the heart of it's, in when you're actually thinking about the execution of how do you roll out a standardized learning module, more or less. And like, I think it's really neat that you've built the infrastructure to just kind of like plug and play almost any kind of learning module in there. And going back to, kind of like, well, we don't do a whole lot of marketing. I think it's on the expert to say that I have this course that's available through Audiology Academy. And so, I think that the onus is almost more on the people that have developed the module. And I think that's neat that like this infrastructure even exists, because in the past, without something like this, it would have all just been so fragmented. And so then you're really at the whims of, had you been exposed to this particular person's really good course onto this, so to consolidate it all onto one platform makes a ton of sense. So, right place, right time. It sounds like you really did develop a very much needed kind of like infrastructure level platform. So what does the remainder of this year look like for you two with Audiology Academy? I know that, Nichole, your practice is booming, it seems. But for this side of your world, what does this year look like, and what are some of the things you're looking forward to, without getting into any of the secrets?
I'm actually really excited. We're rolling out a new look and feel to the website. So just trying to make it more accessible and but just easier to find information and that sort of thing. So that's coming out very shortly. That should be rolling.
Yeah, we say that. I mean, I started the project back in October or September, and with everything going on, we opened up a clinic. And
not hoping you or anything.
No, right. That was a gentle.
Now it's out there.
Yeah. Great. But yeah, guess what I'm going to be doing for the next month. So it really is. We've got somebody, a developer, that's really doing a fantastic job of trying to get this to navigate a lot easier, share more information, to do a little bit more marketing on there, so that you get, when you're working with, if you go for one specific type of product or course, that you get exposure to the other ones that are potentially kind of aligned to what you're currently taking, all that kind of stuff. That's a lot of coding stuff in the background that I don't do. But it really, if you look at it right now, and I'll apologize to anyone if I might insult them, but a lot of the stuff, it looks like a 12-year-old designed some of these cards. That was me.
You did it.
Yes.
I'm not
a graphics designer or anything like that, but I was just like, I needed something, because we start getting courses and experts and things, and I needed a format that I can show plug. And so I did everything I could to really make it a lot easy for me. And Nichole's just like, oh, no.
It's out of the 80s.
Right. Oh, come on. Okay. 80s were a great decade. That's awesome. But yeah, some work.
Like what, 8?
No. I was born in 89, so I am an 80s baby. Yeah, I can say that.
Oh, there you go. But yeah, that's what's coming down. We got a couple of more courses. We had one just pop on there. I haven't done a lot of marketing with it. We've got some more business management type courses. Hopefully that, as soon as I can get an agreement site, she's got a great course. I'm expecting big things with this one in the industry. She's gonna be a disruptor for sure. It's gonna be fantastic. And then we have the one that we spoke about. We've got a couple of more in the pipeline, but we're starting to build out this really round and exciting courses.
Toolbox.
Yeah, the toolbox is ginormous right now, and it's just getting bigger. And that's what we're excited about. And I think that's where it's not necessarily about the growth; it's about the penetration. The more people we get to help, the more people that the experts get to help as well. I mean, that's the part. We are just one piece of it, and it's really about the whole team. All the experts and our partners. We've partnered with some groups so that they can offer discounts to the members, because it's really important. There's training that they don't provide that they know that our platform has that on there. So it's really growing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
And fun.
it's fun. Yes, that's the important thing. It is.
Seems like it. So as we kind of come to the close here, I guess I'd be curious, clearly you're making an impact. Is there anything in particular, you don't have to name names or anything, but are there any stories or anything like that stand out in your mind of feel-good moments of just like what you've been building and putting all this hard work toward, that you're like feeling like there's a payoff because you're hearing from people that, hey, I took your course and this is like really helped transform my practice in one way or another? Are you getting those kinds of testimonials or anything like that?
I hear from audiologists all the time that it tends to be the ones that are skeptical about, do I really need an audiology assistant?
Mm-hmm.
And then when they take the leap to do it and find out how much time that they save, that they give back to themselves, that those are the fun stories. I have one audiologist friend who said, I didn't think I would ever get out of the office before 5 ever again.
Yeah.
And it's the little things, right? Being able to just be like, I am done for the day. I'm going to go out, I'll have a glass of wine.
Yeah.
Instead of having a work day every day. Those are the little things I love to hear, because it's exactly where I was at. That I did not have personal time. It really was about building the business, and building the business is important, but work on your business, not in your business. Have somebody else who can help you so that you can live the life you want to live.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll have to say that it's been, I'm going to give a shout out to our audiology assistant, who is actually going to school to be a dispenser. Really proud of him, really excited for him. And so I want to say from a business owner side of things, having that person in the clinic has just been amazing. Yet it's allowed the other audiologists, or to have the audiologists to be able to see more patients and do more things. And if I could be my own testimony, I don't know why everybody's not doing this already. If you're even if it's your front desk person, that's great. Move them to an audiologist, find a new front desk person, an audiology assistant. The growth that you have, the time that you will get is just amazing. But yeah, to answer your question, we get, when we go to the conferences, we used to have a booth and stuff like that. We stopped doing that because it's just really going around and talking to people. And when you talk to them, the stories are amazing. So,
Yeah.
Oh, I loved it. And then we do get testimonials for our courses and things like that. Some of them are out there. But it's the face-to-face ones, I think, are the most amazing. Yeah, you see the joy in their eyes.
It's so cool. I just thought of this as you were saying that. Is there a course or plans for a course for an audiology assistant to take to help graduate into becoming a hearing instrument specialist? Did I just jump the gun?
No, you're not the first one to ask that. I think that it makes perfect sense that that's where this goes. There, again, are other training programs for hearing instrument specialists, but how do you do it well inside an audiology clinic? Because speaking to your point earlier, that we have to figure out how to do things differently. We are coming up against a bottleneck where we will not have enough staff.
Yes.
Not find an audiologist for the life of us. And so we have to figure out how are we going to stay viable. And I think hiring hearing instrument specialists, training them to work inside your culture is the next logical step. So
yeah.
Is there anything in the works for that? No. Is
Not
it
yet.
something that is on the top of mind for sure?
So with regard to the actual audiology assistant training, though, is that something that, it seems like it's targeted toward the audiologist or the practice owner, and then it's kind of disseminated down. Is that correct? Like they have their assistant or aspiring assistant go through this program, or is it more about kind of like, here are the things to consider if you're going to have an assistant? I know it's kind of subtle, but is it actually designed for the aspiring assistant themselves?
So we very clearly say that audiology assistants are not meant to be autonomous. This is not something that you are going to train yourself and walk into a practice and say, I am a trained audiology assistant.
Right.
This is meant to be underneath the guidance of an audiologist.
Gotcha. Okay.
So the audiology assistant training comes with a supervisor manual. And a supervisor guide is meant to tell the supervisor, these are the things your student is learning today, and make sure that you shore that up. So you're going to focus on asking questions about this topic this week, or you make sure that you do an actual hands-on training for this topic during this week because they're learning this information. So again, it's meant to take the thinking off of the audiologist and make it easy. And the training, it has to be done by the audiology assistant, but it's under the supervision of an audiologist.
Makes total sense.
It could be done by a practice manager too, I suppose. But really, my goal was, as an audiologist, I want oversight
for sure,
that support role.
Yeah, because there's a lot of culture that it also has to be trained.
Right.
I mean, you can send your assistant off to another place to train them to do specific things, tasks and things like that. That might be wonderful, but when they come back, that might not be the exact way that your culture or the processes that you do or even allow them to do. There's so many variables that we believe that the training should happen in the course in the clinic that they're going to be supporting and helping grow. It's nice to send them off, and it's nice to have them go and read stuff and watch videos and practice some games to remember information, but you need that reinforcement.
Mentorship.
Yeah, mentorship in the clinic. And that's hard to find outsourcing it, but it's doable. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think there's a group that's trying to do that. Full heart, just go for it. I mean, more assistants that we can get in the industry, that's going to be super awesome. But I think, the clinics need to take a little bit of ownership. That is their employee, that is their culture, that is their practices. And at the end of the day, when you say that your license is at risk, it is at risk if you
don't know what that
if you don't know what that person's doing and exactly how they're doing it. So, but I don't know why I got on that tangent, but
no, it makes sense though. I was interested. I mean, that's actually good to know that, like, how that's administered, and it makes sense that this was designed by audiologists so that, obviously you feel strongly that there should be oversight. And I think that probably is a really strong endorsement that a lot of people can rally behind, a lot of audiologists, because I think that probably is one of the biggest fears is like, is there,
you're giving away part of audiology.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, well, I appreciate you two coming on. Last question, will you be at AAA? You said you're going to be part of the program, right?
It's in Seattle.
Yeah. So we can't, it's not like we can't go.
Right, it's in your backyard.
Yeah.
Just like it was in my backyard last year in St. Louis. So, Joe, will you be wearing the kilt?
Yeah, that's, yes, the short answer, at least at one of the gatherings and stuff like that. That's my heritage, and so I love it.
You always stuck out in my mind because like I was always like the first few times I met you, I probably didn't even remember your name, but I was like, oh, that's the guy that always wears the kilt.
Yeah, yeah, and it's
Very
it's
memorable.
it's and I've grown accustomed to the gawks. There's like, oh my goodness, what is that guy doing? Hey, you're wearing a slacks. I'm wearing a kilt.
What way to stand out. That's awesome. Well, I can't wait to see you two there. Thanks again for coming on the show today, and thanks for everybody who tuned in here to the end. We'll chat with you next time.
All right.
Cheers.